Boa tarde. When I was 21 years old, a few friends and I started one of the leading design and entrepreneurship organizations in the US, and it's called Design for America. Design for America basically brings students together from different backgrounds, empowers them with design, and unleashes them on local social challenges. And I want to tell you the story of the first project that I worked on. It's called SwipeSense, and it's what I do on a day-to-day basis now. It all started in 2009, when a handful of friends, it was the four of us, decided to solve one of the greatest challenges in healthcare today. And it's called hospital-acquired infections. We work with a hospital a couple blocks away from our campus. And before I tell you more about that summer, I want to tell you about this problem. So hospital-acquired infections, what is it really? Every year, 2 million Americans are impacted by this. And hospital-acquired infections, it's exactly what it sounds like. You go to a hospital, and you get an infection that's different from your original diagnosis. So it's something that you get completely out of your will. And as a result, out of those 2 million people, 100,000 of them die every single year. It's a massive, massive problem. A week into our project, we understood what the solution was. And it's really, really straightforward. Every infection control professional in a hospital knows what the answer is to combat hospital-acquired infections. And it's washing your hands. It's very straightforward. From one patient, you take care of a patient, and before the other one, you have to wash your hands. But nobody does it. So we had all sorts of ideas to how to get people to wash their hands, and we had all sorts of terrible ideas. We had an idea to basically give every patient a big bottle of hand sanitizer so they could give to the doctors as they came by. We had an idea to put blue paint in the soap, so when you washed your hands, your hands would get blue, so people would know whether you did it or not. Just really, really bad ideas. So after a month, we basically just sat and looked, and we had nothing. We had no ideas, and it's a very depressing place to be. I mean, if you ever worked on a design project, and you have a short deadline and no good ideas, it's a very, very scary place to be. So me and my friend Yuri, now my business partner, we went to this place. This is North Beach at Northwestern University. It was a Saturday night at 2 a.m. So we went there. We were very sad. So we went to this place, and Yuri climbed the lifeguard chair, and I started to make a sandcastle. So I was making the sandcastle. I was done, and I had sand on my hands, and I went like this. And in the horizon, I could see, you have the answer. Your hands are going here. And the idea was very simple. The insight is, all of our ideas before then was around changing the user, change the healthcare worker. So remind them, tell them to do something else. And instead, we looked at the problem and basically said, okay, what if we changed hand hygiene itself? So we went back to the studio, we cut the top off of a deodorant roller, we duct taped alcohol hand sanitizer in the back, we attached it to scrubs, and if you wiped your hand on it, you would get alcohol hand sanitizer on your hands. And we were so excited. We went back to the hospital, we showed them this idea, people seemed to be interested, and it was a very, very, very happy moment. In the end, we made this big presentation to the hospital, and we made the following analogy. We basically told them, look, you're asking doctors and nurses to make 100 phone calls a day. If you want to make this easy for them, take the phone from the wall and give them a cell phone. That seemed like a very natural, something that just made so much sense. So when we graduated, my friend Yuri and I, we basically decided to make this idea into a reality. Northwestern University gave us a very generous grant to keep working on this. And 3 months in the project, we got accepted into a business accelerator called HealthBox. They invested the first $50,000 in the business, and we thought this is going to be the most money ever that anybody can give us. I mean, $50,000 for somebody just who graduated from college is a lot of money. So we took this money, we went to Northwestern Medicine. Northwestern University has this big hospital, very prestigious, and we started knocking on doors. We have this idea. What do you think? Can you help us? Until we ran into this person, Dr. Jill Rogers. Dr. Jill Rogers is really, really awesome. She's a director of nursing at Northwestern. And she basically sat us down and told us this. She said, guys, good idea. But you know what would make this idea a really good idea? The way we measure hand hygiene right now in hospitals is with pen and paper. So we get a nurse or a doctor out of patient care, give him or her a pen and a paper, and they check boxes. You know, washed hands, didn't wash hands, washed hands. She said, this is very, very old way of doing this. And if we could automate it somehow, you guys would have a winning idea. So, and she asked, can you do this? Me and Yuri, we looked at each other. We'd never built a website before. We had never built a circuit before. And we had never worked with wireless communication before. So we looked at each other, we looked at Jill, and we said, yes, we can. We absolutely can do exactly what you asked for. So that's what SwipeSense is today. SwipeSense is a smart, portable hand sanitizer. This is what it looks like in a hospital. Healthcare workers clip these devices on themselves. And it does two things. It provides hand hygiene at the point of care, so it's very, very easy for them to do. At the same time, the electronics inside collect information around usage. So we can tell people, hey, you know, you did a great job today. You know, you're doing better than all the other nurses. Set up all these sorts of neat competitions. And the idea really quickly caught on. First, we did some fundraising, and we raised $1.2 million to finance the company from Blue Cross Blue Shield, one of the largest insurance companies in the US. They're a very big strategic partner for us, and we love them very much. We took that funding, and we conducted a clinical study. So we basically gave a bunch of people swipe senses in a hospital and measured what happens to their hand hygiene behavior. And if you're carrying around a swipe sense, you go through 64% more hand sanitizer than your peers, which is, you know, a very exciting number if you're an infection control professional. And finally, we signed up 11 hospitals to use our product. You're just seeing a handful of them up here. But it's a very exciting thing to see, you know, an idea who was just, you know, a single insight like this to grow up and grow into its own legs, and now it's spreading across the country, hopefully across the world one day. And as a cherry on the top of the sundae, Wall Street Journal, a big newspaper in the US, is holding this competition right now, the Startup of the Year contest. And out of 500 applicants, we're in the top 3. And on Monday, we get to find out if we win or not. So you should, you know, wish me good luck. Hopefully we'll win. The point of this story is that we did all of this while we were ordinary college students. And it really brings me to my point of the talk here. Vivek Vadva, one of the leading researchers in entrepreneurship and innovation in the US, conducted this big study with the Kaufman Foundation and found out a really startling statistic. The average age of founders, of entrepreneurs in the US is 40. And this is very, very counterintuitive. You know, we all saw the movie Social Network. We all think, you know, an entrepreneur is, you know, someone with a hoodie and a laptop, we can do everything, and it's 40. Like, that's really old. And my belief is that the greatest asset that the 21st century has is young people. The energy, the ingenuity, and the enthusiasm of young people go vastly, vastly unused in solving some of these big challenges that humanity has. So I think a question worth asking right now is, how do we replicate this? How do we make sure that SwipeSense and companies like SwipeSense are not outliers? They're not exceptions. They're the norm. I think a future where every student graduates not just with a piece of paper, but a big challenge that they're willing to fight, that they're willing to change. I think that would be a future worth looking forward to. So as I ask this question with Design for America and SwipeSense in mind, I came across 3 themes that really made the difference in my perspective of why we were able to innovate on a regular basis. The first one of these 3 lessons is driven by purpose. Now, this sounds, again, very, very straightforward, but that number 100,000 has a huge meaning at SwipeSense. I think every big company, every big design project should really start with a mantra. a big wrong that needs to be righted. And it has to be motivating. It has to be this grand challenge. And the simple reason for that is startups are difficult. They're really, really difficult. It's like being in first grade for the first day of first grade for 2 years in a row. I mean, it's very, very scary. You're constantly underqualified for what you're supposed to do. So first you ask yourself simple questions like, why is my code not working? Why is the circuit broken? To much more existential questions like, am I smart enough to do this? Did my mom love me? All these difficult questions, they constantly get at you, and it's very difficult on your mind. But if you have a big, hairy, audacious goal, suddenly the whole thing makes more sense. You realize why you're there in the first place. And I believe an entrepreneur with a why can endure any how. So it's absolutely a necessity that purpose sets this whole adventure from the beginning. The second is inspired by design. Now, design is this overused word these days, but I truly believe design thinking, the practice of design, is one of the fundamental skill sets that define the success and failure of these long-term vision of these design projects. Now, the reason why I say this is because design is a profession built on collaboration and interdisciplinary work. And when you're looking at these early teams of 5 to 6 individuals, they all have different skill sets. I mean, if they're all computer scientists, it's unlikely that the startup is going to be successful because you need all sorts of different perspectives. So design is absolutely a necessity because you're working on an unknown problem. I mean, the early days is not just about having better answers, it's about asking better questions. I mean, for SwipeSense, this was how do we lower infections, to how do we increase hand hygiene, to how do we make hand hygiene a habit, to how do we use real-time data and convenience to improve behavior. I mean, it's a constantly evolving question. And when you look, going from the insight of, I have sand on my hands, to a prototype, to something that can be tested overnight, is classic example of design. And the last one, my favorite, is that we're powered by failure. Now, failure is this big, scary word that I know it's something that usually people are trying to avoid. But if I was going to be truly honest with you today and tell you the SwipeSense story as is, the whole 2-hour version, most of what I will be talking about is failures. I think 90% of the time, we fail as a company, and that's why we do well. 76 prototypes we had to go through to come to the design that we have today. I mean, this is our dining table. And we didn't eat on this for months because we were always doing prototypes, one after another, constantly trying to improve it. The research proposal we submitted to Northwestern to get that 64%, I mean, it's an exciting number, but it took us 15 versions of the same proposal to finally get Northwestern to say, yes, we'll try your device in this. And halfway through the pilot, the device is broke, so we had to start all over again. I mean, it's just never-ending nightmare. And my personal favorite, the first name of our company wasn't SwipeSense. It was called MyWipe. Now, I don't know what you think when you hear MyWipe, but this is what I think when I hear MyWipe. It's not really, the cleanest name for a hygiene product, but that was our first name. And we were very proud of it. We're like, MyWipe. We wanted to buy mywipe.com, bad idea. The point is that we're a story of failures, and that's why we're successful. I believe higher education and these models that try to teach people how to innovate and how to be entrepreneurial absolutely need to come to terms with failure and the idea of failing over and over again in order to be successful. So as Samuel Beckett wisely put it, fail, fail again, and fail better. It's absolutely a necessity. So those are the 3 ideas: purpose, design, and failure. And I believe combining those 3 ideas, we can empower the young people of today and address some of the greatest challenges that humanity faces. We can tap into that great resource that's waiting to solve these problems. Obrigado.